My name is Nikki and I've been working as a children's occupational therapist for 27 years. This is a small snapshot into dysgraphia from an OT perspective. Please note the content is not definitive and is a brief oversight. These are some but not all of the signs that writing may be dysgraphic. Often a misconception is handwriting has to only be illegible. It doesn't. Slow, neat writing can also be a sign and should be taken into account accordingly. Slides show examples of dysgraphic writing by children ranging in age that I have seen for assessment. Further examples of writing with dysgraphic traits. As you can see, some of the things that you can note in these two pieces of writing are words are not always sat on the lines. They are squashed into or over the margins. Spacing is quite indiscriminate. The words merge together, or spacing is quite big in between words. Many of the elements discussed on the previous slide can be noted. People are often amazed at all the differing areas as OTs we look at in our handwriting assessments, such as physicality of writing, which is a huge one for us. Not only that, we can look at sensory, planning and initiation of the task, developmental stages, and we often use a variety of equipment such as pens, pencils, angled boards to see if that will aid their writing output as well. But please do take a read around the diagram to see how many are actually involved. So this is just a really quick video to show you some of the equipment that I feel should be really to hand in all primary schools if there's any issues with handwriting. So to start off with, we have the move and sit cushion, which is a ramp cushion which sits in the classroom chair. It's got a bobbly side and a flat side. Now if you've got a child that moves around a lot, gets up and down a lot, or moves in their chair, they will probably like to sit on the bobbly side. It just gives them the maximum feedback, or the body the maximum feedback needed to ensure that they can concentrate and focus a little bit longer. There isn't any right or wrong side, it's just dependent on what the child prefers. Moving on, we've got the angle board. This is used to write on or to lean on to write. It allows some more fluency of movement across the paper. It's also good if you've got a child who presses hard through the paper, through the pen or through the hand. It just alleviates some of that pressure for them. Budgets are tight, I know, so if you don't have the budget to buy the angle boards, then an A4 binder, just a single A4 binder with a pad of paper in, works brilliantly as an angle board and is a much cheaper alternative. So there's a good tip for you there. Therapy, this I use a lot to encourage warm up of the hands and the muscles in the hands before any type of writing is undertaken. There's various different colours. You can get pink, red, and then onto green and blue. There's also a black, but you have to be really strong to use the black. So I don't think any of the children that I see or the young adults ever get to the black stage really. And this just helps warm up the muscles in the hands and the fingers and helps strengthen them slightly, ready to begin handwriting. It's also really good to encourage pincer grip in the younger children to then help with their pen hold or pencil hold. Moving on, a little bit of self-promotion. I designed these Mudgy grips. They're ergonomic grips. They've got a good round head to them, which is why I call them sort of Mudgy grips. They're a bit like a mushroom, and you stick them onto rulers with super glue or protractors, and it just gives you good manipulation. You can use all your fingers if you need to move your ruler around, and it's a lot easier than trying to just move the ruler as is. Moving on, I think all desks in primary school should have a pot of pens, pencils and scissors so that children can just go to them, find what they like, find what's comfortable on their fingers and use them. So we have a variety of pencils which are left and right. We have a thicker pencil as well for those that need it, or younger children when they're first starting off recording. We have various scissors, so we have right-handed scissors, left-handed scissors, and these are brilliant. These are mini easy grip scissors, and you put your thumb on the top and literally just squeeze them together and you can just cut. So they don't, if you have a child that struggles with manipulation, you don't need to do an awful lot at all. You just need to squeeze, and children find them brilliant and really easy to use, and they fit nicely into the palm of your hand. There's also Stabilo 1.4 Easy Ergo pencils, which are brilliant, and the Scribblino pencil is also another good one if you need to for children to use and manipulate. There's also the good old handwriting pen that I know all schools seem to use, but I really would love people and schools and teachers to think outside the box and have a Stabilo original pen in left-handed, right-handed, and a Stabilo Fun pen, which doesn't matter if you're left-handed or right-handed, it just works either or. So that's a really basic overview of things that really I feel should be in every classroom. Strategies to trial if you have concerns about a child in your class with their handwriting, although please note this list isn't exhaustive. Some of the things you can do is just focus on just one aspect of handwriting at a time. Encourage whole class hand warm-ups first thing before you do any work in the morning is always a brilliant start to the day. Please make sure the child can replicate basic shapes before starting any sort of letter formation. It's really important that you embed the straight line, diagonal line, horizontal line, vertical line, circles, squares and rectangles. Think about your classroom layout and where the children are sitting that find handwriting challenging. Consider your seating plan. Please do not sit a left-handed child next to a right-handed child. Ensure the walls are not too distracting around the child's desk. Encourage them to talk through ideas and use recording devices or drawing pictures or thoughts down to use as prompts before they even think about any sort of writing. Allow them time to process the instructions given and provide small, clear ones. Scribe spellings if you do have spelling tests and the child can verbalise more accurately than they can record, or you can't read the writing when they record it. So if you scribe for them, it gives them more of a better chance of actually achieving better results in their spelling tests. And use alternate colours for different lines on the whiteboard if you're wanting a child to copy from it. So to continue the strategies, practice shapes, pencil patterns and writing on whiteboards and LED tablets as they naturally flow better because of the shiny surface. Have a pot on each table with differing pencils, pens and scissors for the children to choose what works for them and for them to decide themselves and not be led by an adult. Please do not force the child to choose a hand dominance, let them decide however long it takes. Use an angled surface or an A4 file turned sideways with a pad of paper inside to promote fluency and give them less pressure through the hand, pencil and pen. Lots of encouragements of pencil trails, dot-to-dots and mazes to promote fluency, visual tracking and pencil control. Start with straight, curvy lines, diagonal lines which go from wide and then narrowing. Highlight the bottom or top half of the line space as a visual prompt. Get them to brainstorm ideas and provide them with handouts in lessons if you're expecting them to do a lot of copying from the whiteboard. This is just a quick slide to show you some differing paper resources. A lot of it won't be rocket science for you, and I'm sure you'll have seen them all before, but some examples you could use are raised line paper. If you can't afford the budget of buying the raised line paper, which is quite expensive, you could use cocktail sticks, lolly sticks or straws stuck onto lines to act as that kinesthetic feedback that can be needed for the children. There's also a pad of paper with practice lines in. There's coloured tinted paper, cream, pink, green, aqua. I mean, there's numerous different colours you can get for visual stress. Graph paper is always a good one to promote spacing of letters and words, and is always a good one really to start with before then progressing onto the lines. There's pretty inexpensive LED writing tablets that you can get between £5 and £8 that have a good shiny surface to record on. There's paper with stop and go at the end of the lines. And you can always use line paper turned horizontally if you need that spacing guide. So this is just showing you some equipment that you could use for a child in your class who maybe wants or seeks movement a lot. They move around or fidget a lot in their chair, they're constantly getting up and down, they're struggling to regulate their need to move or regulate the need to seek out things on their desk to fidget with, which impacts on their concentration and focus and in actual fact their written output. So we've already talked about the move and sit cushion. Not only is it brilliant for increasing focus and concentration, it's also brilliant for calming if needed. This is a weighted lap pad. It sits across the lap, either doubled up or singularly. And it provides the same feedback as the move and sit cushion, but some children can't tolerate the move and sit cushion, so this is a good alternative, and it's nice and soft, it's full of beans, and it's really quite nice to have across the lap, again to aid focus and concentration and just give the body some feedback so it seeks movement less. If you're wanting something to put your feet on for stability, because when any of us are doing writing or written output, we should have our feet flat on something, on a surface or on the carpet or the floor. If you can't do this, or you want something to add a little bit extra stability, or you want something to rest your feet on, these are really good. These are soft and squishy. You can either have them that way round with the ramp, or you can have them as a rocker. So you put your feet on and they rock backwards and forwards, and it's really quite nice and calming when you're doing your work. We've already talked about Theraputty. Here are some exercise sheets that you can get from Etsy, which I've put together. They just give a few examples of exercises you can do with the putty, but really just manipulating it, squeezing it, pressing it, pulling it, pinching it are all really good as a stress outlet or as an anxiety outlet, but also good to encourage pincer grip and as a fidget really. If there's a pot on your table or a pot in the child's drawer, then they can get that at any time they need to. These are cards to signify the child wants to move. Some children find it really difficult to put the hand up and ask if they want a movement break in class in front of everybody else. So these cards are really good for showing that. Obviously that's when they're sitting down, that's when they want to move, and alternatively you've got them on the other side. That's can I move? Take that away. When they come back and sit down, that one comes out, and it's just a nice reminder for the teacher and a nice visual for everybody to see what's going on and what's needed. Regular quality movement breaks are brilliant for children that like to move a lot, and they need this to be able to increase their focus and concentration in class. So they need to have quality movement throughout the day, and this needs to be regulated in many cases a lot for the children, so instigated by the teacher or the classroom assistant. These are just some really good cards to show different activities that you can do with the children when they're on that movement break, or indeed just get the children take a card and go out of the classroom and do it, and then come back and settle, and hopefully that will increase their focus and concentration. These are just some examples of fidgets. I'm sure you'll all have seen all these different fidgets. You've got your poppers, which are really in at the moment. You've got your squeezy stress balls. This is a brilliant one. It's a thumb fidget, and literally just up and down with the thumb, but it's really calming and soothing and quite discreet as well if somebody wants it in their pocket or just in their hand to do. It's not an obvious one, that one, which is quite good. You've also got your good old fidget cube with lots of different surfaces and lots of different buttons to press. Or you've got your bendy men that just stretch and are quite good if you just want your hands to do something or the fingers to do something for the children. These can all be kept in a drawer or indeed on the table or in the child's pocket, and they can just use them as they need to. Quite often children like something to fidget with when they're writing, so in their non-writing hand they can have those, and it just increases concentration and alertness for them. This is a band that goes around the legs of a chair just to rest the feet on or give the feet something to rest on, and then they can move it. So it has a lot of give to it, so it just bends and the child can then use that as an outlet as well if they just want to move their legs every so often. So that's another really good one for a classroom chair. Alternatively, you've got different means of sitting. You can have peanut ball where you can go over on your tummy and access work that way, or you've got the therapy ball, which is another good one. In a lot of classrooms they use therapy balls instead of classroom chairs for children that like to move a lot or just need to stay alert through that regulation of movement, and they're really good to use alongside all these other bits of equipment. So it just gives you a little bit of an idea of what's out there and what you could use. Some ideas to promote focus in the classroom when you're wanting a child to try and concentrate on their recording work. So you could encourage different working positions throughout the day, for example, sitting, whether it's on a chair, a therapy ball or a peanut ball, or floor sitting or sitting on a move and sit cushion. They could work in standing, or they could also work on the carpet laying on their tummy. Ensure quality movement breaks are used at regular intervals, and also whole class movement activities again at regular intervals. It will benefit all the children in the class, not just the ones that are finding handwriting challenging. There are also fidgets that you can use, which benefit focus and concentration and reduce stress, and they can offer deep pressure and develop muscle and hands and finger strength, and also promote fine motor skills. So all these things can help aid focus and concentration. These are some primary age activity ideas to aid writing, whether pre-writing or when they start writing. Repetition of activity is really, really important. You can't expect a child just to get something first off, so you need to practice, but use lots of different ideas to practice with. Don't just stick with one idea, as the child will get bored really quickly. Basic shapes need to be mastered first, so use different mediums such as shaving foam, sand, water, paint, chalks, water on a paintbrush, on paths or walls, making those basic shapes, or brumming a car is often a fun one, in shaving foam or sand, just to get those basic shapes going. You can also roll a ball on a wall in a circle, a triangle, a square or a rectangle, and that's another fun way of reinforcing the shape formations. Basically make it fun and play-based. Drawing trails, mazes or dot to dots, reinforcing straight lines, curved lines, and then moving on to diagonal lines are brilliant. And then when you go on to letters, use all the above methods to reinforce the letter formations you are asking them to make. But please remember, start with big movements, gross movements, i.e. big circles with arms, using flip chart paper on a wall to do drawing trails or shapes or letters, and gradually work down to smaller movements. So you're going from your gross movement, refining it down to your fine motor movements. Promote pincer grip, hand and finger strength and finger isolation by using Play-Doh, Theraputty exercises, jumbo tweezers, items hidden in rice you have to pick out with a pincer grip. You have a washing line with clothes on where they have to peg the clothes up, or indeed have letters on the washing line, anything that you need to use the pegs for to put them on. A peg tree is also really nice. You can have a peg tree with different writing on or different activities they need to do, but they need to peg it onto the leaves at the end of it. Water and sand play, finger painting or finger puppets are also some really good ideas. White clean boards or LED writing tablets have a nice shiny surface to aid fluency, and often they're a good one to start doing your shapes and your letters on as well. Really up to 9 years, work can be done on a child's handwriting and some change noted, but realistically at 9 years it's a case of if they have a lot of dysgraphic traits or are dysgraphic, you need to think about assisted technology. So really year 5 to 6 needs to be a realistic time to think about this. Some of the options may be a laptop to gain speed and familiarization, and so they can record quicker, and the writing can be read by the class teacher, and therefore they get marked accordingly as to what's in their head, as to what's on their paper, because it can be read. Try dictation into a peg recorder or device before writing or typing. Consider setting up a typing club in your school so the child's not the only one doing it in class. It can be a whole school club that anybody can go to really to gain these skills, which are life skills. Consider differing coloured paper, maybe trial using an aqua coloured paper, line paper, or green line paper. Consider a scribe, and discuss the best means forward with the child and think how best you can facilitate their learning and recording outcomes. And really what I would like to say is be flexible and think outside the box. Not all the children are the same, and often these children need that little bit of extra thought and thinking as to how to facilitate and best get their learning recorded. I wanted to include this picture to demonstrate that you don't have to buy a lot of resources in order to practice pre-writing skills. You don't have to be a whiz at drawing either to be able to produce them. So the one on the left is a flip chart paper with just some drawing trails I've drawn on them. There's a little toy car at the top which you can use to go from one side to the other, and a little skateboard on the bottom one which you can use your finger on top of or two fingers on top of and whiz up and down the trails, as well as using a pen. On the right hand side it's a white clean board and an LED tablet which have just got the same patterns on as well. Really easy to use, really cheap, and still fun. Pen licence. I know this is quite a contentious issue and is one of my massive soapboxes, so I felt like I really had to include this into my presentation on occupational therapy and dysgraphia, because it's something that I believe from the bottom of my heart needs to be carefully considered as to really, is this the way forwards, and is this best practice in schools. They appear to be widely used in schools. I've known some from as early as year 4 having to try to obtain a pen licence. For most neurodivergent children, this will be unobtainable. They just won't meet the criteria whatsoever. So most children have more fluency using a pen, and therefore why do we need a pen licence in place in the first place? Why can we not just give them the option of using a pen anyway? Why do they have to jump through hoops to be able to use a pen? I just don't get it. Children left traumatised years on from pen licence. I have seen adults that still remember the fact they didn't get a pen licence, and they're the only one in their class not to get a pen licence. So this is something that stays with children a lot longer than I think people realise. And it also provides a culture early on of feeling a failure and reinforcing what they cannot achieve instead of what they can. So please, 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 if you have pen licences in your school or your child's school, then have a word with them. See if you really do need to continue with this practice, because in all honesty, it's something that should never have ever happened in the first place. My penultimate slide is about secondary school and accommodations for young people with dysgraphia. The following could be considered: access to a range of writing implements and practical equipment, mentoring if struggling with executive functioning skills and providing strategies and working alongside the students to help them, movement breaks, recording breaks, laptop if a student's preference is to record on a laptop in discussion with them. If they're adamant they want to handwrite, then this should be encouraged and supported. But really, if laptop recording is the way forwards, then also schools have responsibility to encourage this as well and support them as much as they can. The use of a scribe, extra time for exams or timepieces of work, and a separate room for these to be done in. To have a reader, to use speech-to-text apps, coloured exam papers, and laptop screens in exams, depending on what colour works better for the student following an assessment. Consider setting up a typing club, the use of written handouts instead of expecting them to copy lots from the board, or if there's a lot of instructions to be given. A recording device for homework to avoid quickly having to record it down if you don't do homework online. Allowances for processing time, and keep instructions in small chunks. Really just be flexible and think outside the box, and just give these students the best chance possible of achieving what they're capable of. This has been a quick peek at dysgraphia through my eyes. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video presentation.